I had been waiting for this day for months. The invitation card sat on my desk for weeks, and every time I looked at it, my heart filled with happiness. Tonight was supposed to be one of the best nights of my life. My engagement party. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie for the 5th time. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, just from excitement. Sophia, my fiancée, always told me I looked good in a suit. Tonight, I wanted to look perfect for her. On the way to the venue, my mind was full of memories. I remember the first time I met Sophia at the bookstore, the way she smiled when I made a silly joke, the long walks by the river where she held my hand tightly. Every moment felt like a step that had led us here. When I arrived, the place looked magical. Golden lights sparkled above the hall. Soft music played in the background, and people laughed as they clinked glasses of champagne. A big banner at the entrance said, "Congratulations to the happy couple." I smiled, feeling proud that it was finally my turn to celebrate love. As I walked inside, a few guests turned to look at me. Some smiled politely. Others whispered among themselves. I thought maybe they were surprised by how nervous I looked. I didn't care. I was ready. With every step, my heart beat faster. I was about to see Sophia, the woman I was sure would become my wife. Nothing could ruin this night. Or at least, that's what I believed. The hall was brighter than I had imagined. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, throwing soft light over the crowd. Round tables were set with white cloths and golden ribbons. A tall cake stood in the corner, covered in flowers and shining candles. Everything looked like a scene from a dream. I moved to the crowd, smiling as familiar faces turned toward me. Some of Sophia's relatives nodded politely, though I could not tell if they were truly happy to see me. A group of my friends clapped me on the back and joked, "Ready for the big step, man?" I laughed nervously, trying to hide how fast my heart was beating. Waiters walked between the guests, carrying trays of drinks and snacks. People were talking, laughing, and enjoying themselves. A band played soft romantic music on the stage. The air was full of perfume, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. But as I walked further inside, I noticed something strange. A few people looked at me with confused expressions. One woman whispered something quickly into her friend's ear, and they both glanced at me before looking away. A man near the drinks counter frowned, as if he didn't expect me to be there at all. I brushed it off, telling myself it was just nerves. Big parties often made me feel out of place. Tonight was important, and maybe I was simply imagining things. Still, the feeling stayed in my chest, a small weight pressing down on my excitement. I searched the crowd for Sophia. I expected her to run up to me with that bright smile of hers, to hold my hand, to share this moment. But she was nowhere in sight. The host cleared his throat at the microphone, calling for everyone's attention. My heart raced. Finally, this must be the moment she comes out. The hall suddenly grew quiet as the host, Sophia's father, stepped up to the microphone. He was dressed in a dark suit, his silver hair shining under the lights. He cleared his throat, looked proudly at the crowd, and smiled. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said warmly, "thank you all for being here tonight. This is a very special evening, as we gather to celebrate love, commitment, and the beginning of a new journey." Applause filled the hall. My chest swelled with pride. I straightened my tie and stood tall, ready to step forward when he called my name. He continued, "It gives me great joy to announce the engagement of my beautiful daughter, Sophia." My heart jumped. This was it, the moment I had dreamed of. I could already imagine her walking in, her eyes searching for me, and her fiancé, Adrian. The name hit me like a stone. For a second, I thought I had misheard. The crowd clapped and cheered as the spotlight turned toward the entrance. I froze. Adrian? Who is Adrian? Then I saw him. A tall man in a perfectly cut suit walked confidently into the hall. His arm was wrapped around Sophia's waist. She looked stunning in a flowing silver dress, her hair falling over her shoulders. She was smiling, glowing with happiness, but not at me. My breath caught in my throat. The room around me blurred. I wanted to move, to speak, but my legs felt like stone. Guests clapped louder. Some even stood, as if they had been waiting for this exact moment. Sophia and Adrian walked to the stage. She leaned close to him, whispering something in his ear that made him laugh. They looked like a perfect couple. My heart pounded painfully. My mind screamed, "No, this has to be a mistake. Maybe it's just a joke, maybe." But the banner behind them made everything clear. In large golden letters, it read, "Congratulations, Sophia and Adrian." The truth cut deep. This was not my engagement party. I was just a guest in a celebration I thought belonged to me. I stood frozen, my hands trembling at my sides. My mind refused to believe what my eyes were seeing. Sophia, the woman I loved, the woman I thought I would marry, was holding another man's hand in front of everyone. Memories rushed back like a flood. I remember the night she had said she was too tired to meet me, the sudden business trips that came without warning, the time she quickly put her phone away when I walked into the room. I had ignored it all, convincing myself she was just busy, that she needed space. I trusted her completely. Now, every small moment I had brushed aside turned into a sharp knife in my chest. I forced myself to move closer, hoping, praying that there was some explanation. But as I stepped forward, Sophia's eyes met mine for a brief second. Instead of guilt or regret, I saw fear and then avoidance. She quickly looked away, tightening her grip on Adrian's arm. The crowd cheered as Adrian raised his glass in a toast. "To us," he said proudly, smiling down at Sophia. "To a lifetime together." People lifted their glasses and clapped, their cheers echoing around me. No one seemed to notice me standing there, lost and broken, as if I didn't exist at all. I wanted to scream, to shout her name, to demand the truth, but my voice was stuck in my throat. My heart pounded so loudly it drowned out the music and the laughter. For the first time, I realized something painful. To her, I was not part of this story. I was just a shadow in the corner, a mistake she had chosen to erase. I could not hold myself back any longer. My legs carried me forward, right through the crowd, until I was only a few steps away from the stage. The music quieted, and a few people turned to look at me. My voice finally found its way out. "Sophia," I said loudly, my chest tight. "What is this? What's going on?" The hall grew silent. Every eye turned toward me. Sophia's smile vanished, and her face turned pale. Adrian looked me up and down with an amused smirk. "Daniel," she began, her voice low and shaky. "This isn't the time. Not the time." I cut her off. My voice echoed in the quiet hall. "I thought this was our engagement party. I thought you loved me. So who is he?" I pointed at Adrian, my hand trembling. Gasps spread through the room. Whispers rose like a wave. Some guests looked shocked. Others looked away awkwardly, pretending not to hear. Adrian stepped forward, standing tall. "Calm down, friend. You must be mistaken." His voice was smooth, but his eyes were sharp. "This is my fiancée. Sophia belongs with me." The word belong stabbed into me. I turned back to Sophia, begging her with my eyes. "Tell me it's not true. Tell me this isn't what it looks like." She looked at the floor for a moment. Then, slowly, she raised her head. Her eyes were cold now, her voice steady. "Daniel, we were never official. You misunderstood. I moved on. Adrian is the man I want." Her words struck me harder than any punch. My chest burned, my vision blurred. The crowd murmured louder, divided between sympathy and disbelief. A few of my friends stepped forward as if to help me, but I held up my hand. I didn't want pity. Adrian chuckled and placed a protective arm around her. "Go home, man. Don't embarrass yourself more than this." For a long moment, I stood there staring at them both. My whole world had collapsed in front of strangers. Finally, with heavy steps and a breaking heart, I turned and walked out of the hall. The night air felt cold as I stumbled out of the hall. The sounds of laughter and music still echoed faintly behind me, but they no longer belonged to me. My legs felt heavy, my chest hollow. I kept walking until the glowing lights of the venue disappeared from sight. When I finally reached my apartment, I collapsed into a chair without even turning on the lights. The silence was louder than the party had been. I loosened my tie, pulled it off, and tossed it on the floor. My reflection in the window looked broken. Eyes red, lips trembling, shoulders bent under invisible weight. I opened a bottle of whiskey I had kept for a special occasion. Maybe tonight counted, though not in the way I had expected. The sharp taste burned my throat, but it did nothing to numb the pain inside. Images of Sophia filled my mind. The first kiss we shared, the way she once promised me forever, the night she laughed at my stupid jokes. Were all those moments lies? Or had she changed along the way and just never told me? I picked up the invitation card from the table. Our engagement party. The words mocked me. I tore it in half, then again, until it was nothing but scraps scattered on the floor. Tears blurred my vision, though I tried to fight them. I felt humiliated, betrayed, and empty all at once. The woman I trusted most had thrown me aside like I was nothing. And the worst part? I didn't even understand why. The next morning, my phone buzzed with messages. Some were from friends asking if I was okay. Others just full of gossip about what had happened last night. I ignored most of them. I didn't have the strength to explain myself to anyone, but one message stood out. It was from Lena, Sophia's cousin, who had always been kind to me. Her words were short but urgent. "We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe near your place." Curious and desperate for answers, I went. When I walked in, Lena was already waiting. Her face looked worried, almost guilty. "Daniel," she said softly, "I'm so sorry about last night. You didn't deserve that." I shook my head. "Just tell me why. I need to know the truth." She hesitated, then leaned closer. It wasn't about love. It was about money. Sophia's family pushed her to choose Adrian. He's rich, powerful, and can give the life her parents want for her. You were never part of their plan." Her words cut deep, but they also made sense. Suddenly, all of Sophia's strange behavior had an explanation. She hadn't been confused. She had been making a choice. And it hadn't been me. Lena placed her hand over mine. "I know it hurts, but don't blame yourself. You gave her real love. She just didn't value it." For the first time since last night, I felt a strange kind of relief. At least now I knew the truth. It wasn't that I wasn't enough. It was that she wanted something else entirely. Still, the knowledge didn't heal the wound. It only made the betrayal sharper. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my phone. My hands hovered over the screen as I thought about what Lena had told me. Sophia hadn't just betrayed me in private. She had humiliated me in front of everyone. And yet, part of me still loved her. That was the hardest part to accept. For a moment, I thought about exposing everything, posting screenshots, telling the world what really happened, ruining her perfect image. The anger inside me screamed for revenge. But as I sat there, another voice in my head whispered, "What would that change? Would it make me whole again?" I realized the best revenge wasn't to destroy her. It was to rebuild myself, to stand taller than the man she left behind. So, instead of writing an angry message, I wrote something honest and raw. I shared a post online, not naming Sophia directly, but telling my side of the story, how betrayal feels, how trust can be broken, how love can be used like a weapon. I wrote not to shame her, but to remind myself and others that pain can become strength. To my surprise, the post spread quickly. Friends, even strangers, commented with support. Many told me I was brave for speaking openly. For the first time since that terrible night, I felt seen, not as a man Sophia rejected, but as someone who had survived something heavy. From that day, I made a promise to myself. No more living in the shadow of her choices. I started focusing on my work, exercising, spending time with people who truly cared. Each small step felt like a piece of my broken heart coming back together. I didn't erase the pain, but I began turning it into power. Months passed, and life slowly found new rhythm. The ache in my chest didn't disappear overnight, but with time, it grew quieter. Work kept me busy, the gym gave me focus, and the support of friends reminded me I wasn't alone. I was no longer the man who walked out of that hall broken. I had learned to stand again. My reflection in the mirror looked different now, stronger, sharper, more confident. One evening, I attended a charity event through work. The hall was full of laughter, music, and bright lights. I felt calm, no longer weighed down by the past. As I moved through the crowd, a familiar face caught my eye. Sophia. She looked almost the same, but something in her expression had changed. The glow she once carried was gone. I had heard whispers that her marriage with Adrian was already cracking under fights and mistrust. Tonight, her smile was forced, her eyes tired. For a brief moment, our eyes met. She froze, perhaps surprised to see me standing tall, dressed well, smiling genuinely. There was regret in her gaze, as if she wanted to say something. But I didn't stop. I simply nodded politely and walked past. In that instant, I realized I no longer needed answers, revenge, or closure from her. I had already found it within myself. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I breathed deeply and smiled. Months ago, I thought I had lost everything. But standing there now, I understood I had lost nothing worth keeping. What I gained was far greater. Self-respect, strength, and freedom. Love had betrayed me, but it had also taught me who I was when the world fell apart. And in the quiet of that night, I knew one truth clearly. Sometimes the best beginnings come from the most painful endings.